what's your strategy for getting relationships or making relationships and getting these bids with property managers?
To be honest, it's just like business development, just like reaching out. Yeah, we had a couple people from past clients, but honestly, it was just knocking on doors, building those relationships, dropping off donuts, dropping off coffees, going and shaking hands, kissing babies, and yeah, just building up
It's
the
funny because that's
relationships.
the best answer, but it's the answer that nobody wants to hear.
Yeah, the more I hear like people on podcasts and stuff and just like Instagram videos, everybody's saying the same stuff. It's just like, yeah, just put in the work.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe.
What's up, everybody? Mike Hickman, founder of paintergrowth.com, and you're listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. And today we're with my friend, Graeme Bouvier. Actually, we're in the same city from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And we're going to talk about Graeme building his painting company from a startup to over $3 million in 2 years. Pretty impressive,
You
dude.
bet. Thanks. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man. So there's a whole origin story as to why you started this painting business, but let's get into that a different day. Let's just start
Yeah.
about Revive. So what was like before you started your painting company, like what was your vision in terms of like how you wanted to build it?
For me, like Mike said, there was an origin story on it. So we'll go into another podcast on it, but just like quick, we had a large company. I'm sure a lot of people can relate that when you have a big business, there's a lot of things that you would like to change, but you can't really change because it's such a big beast. So we're doing about 15 million, and there's a lot of things in there that we wanted to change. And then when I was able to start up this company, I was able to have like a very clear vision on what I wanted. So everything that I had in this past business that I didn't want in this new one, I was able to start fresh. So like a couple things that come to mind is just like hiring the right people and really hiring based off our values. So with our old business, the values were there, but they weren't followed. So when we started this new business, the values were like top of mind with every new hire. Um, that's what we were focusing on. So the culture was a lot better. And because of that, like the foundation was a lot better than what it was in the business, even though it was 15 mil with $1 million painting company the first year, like the foundation was just like so much better. So that was like the big thing, was just really focusing on the values and focusing on the foundation.
I'll put you on the spot. What are your core values?
Growth,
Uh,
honesty, accountability, and making an impact.
Okay, cool. And I like that. We'll talk about the making an impact thing because I think what you're doing there is awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so you're looking at hiring with values. Now, you said you did $1 million in your first year. How did that look? Like, what were the things um, that you started with before the season even started in order to set yourself up for like a $1 million year one?
Okay, so a couple things here. Um, we got off to a bit of a head start because we always had clients from the past business. So we didn't just get $1 million like that. But one of the big challenges that we went into was cash flow, obviously. So obviously when you're starting up a new business, you take on these projects. We take on a lot of commercial projects. It's going to take you a while to get paid. So you got to make sure you can pay your guys. You got to make sure you can pay your suppliers, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the big things for us was to solve that cash flow cycle. So we take 50% deposit up front, and that's essentially our cost right up front. And we have everything covered, and then we're just waiting on the profit at the end. So to get to $1 million in the first year, we really had to focus on making sure we had enough cash in the bank. And that was one of the ways that we solved it.
Because you
If
did
you're
a
not taking,
primarily commercial business, commercial
yeah,
painting.
primary commercial, but working for the owners, not so much for GCs. We do more GC work now, but we couldn't before because usually that's like 30 to 60 days to get paid. So we did a lot of commercial repaints and stuff like that to start.
Okay. So what do you mean by working for the owners?
Like property managers, um, like owners of like gaming companies. So we're doing like this one project right now. It's called Activate Games. We're dealing like directly with the guy that's building activate. We did a lot of like Michaels directly for Michaels. So not where it's somebody underneath. Most of the times you get like a general contractor, say it's like a fit out for a Walmart. Walmart will hire the general contractor, and then the general contractor will hire the painters. Painters usually don't get paid 30, 60 days down the road.
Yeah. Okay. So at the start, doing more like commercial repaints for like property managers and stuff rather than going straight to builders and bidding on new construction.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you get a lot of that from like relationships you already had, or how do you like what's your strategy for getting relationships or making relationships and getting these bids with property managers?
To be honest, it's just like business development, just like reaching out. Yeah, we had a couple people from past clients, but honestly, it was just knocking on doors, building those relationships, dropping off donuts, dropping off coffees, going and shaking hands, kissing babies, and yeah, just building up
It's
the
funny because that's
relationships.
the best answer, but it's the answer that nobody wants to hear.
Yeah, the more I hear like people on podcasts and stuff and just like Instagram videos, everybody's saying the same stuff. It's just like, yeah, just put in the work.
Yeah.
It's just like the boring answers, but that's the honest truth. It's just like go out, meet people, build those relationships.
Like we had a guy on we had a coaching call this morning, and one of the guys on it was like, I don't have any work for Thursday and Friday next week. He's like, what's the fastest way to get jobs? I'm like, are you doing a project right now? He's like, yeah, a big exterior. I'm like, okay, go knock on every door in that block and ask them if they want a paint job too. He's like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, it's not rocket science. And excuses start to fly. I'm like, no, just go do it. Oh, I don't have my door hangers. I don't have this. I don't have that. Just go do it.
Yeah, it's really easy to make excuses. And if you just, like Mike said, like just put in the work and just actually just go knock on the doors. I think perfect is the worst enemy of great because you're always waiting until like everything is just like exactly how you want it instead of just like going out and doing it. Like same thing as like anything on social media or any marketing stuff. It's just like put out what you have. Even if it's perfect, you don't know if it's going to work.
Yep.
So just put it
Done is
out.
better than perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We have a saying internally, progress over perfection.
Yeah, exactly.
So you started shaking babies and kissing hands,
100%. Yeah.
and starting to land some commercial work, some commercial repaint work. How did you start up production? So you're taking 50% up front.
Mhm.
I guess that only really works with like property managers and these repaints. Did you have anyone like give you any objections around 50% up front?
Surprisingly, no. So the past business that I had was like primarily commercial, like general contractors. So I kind of had this like paradigm in my head where it's just like, there's no way somebody's going to take 50% or pay us 50% up front. But we just sent out invoices. I can't remember who told me to do it. One of my buddies, I think, that had a painting company is just like put out the invoice and see if they pay. And the first job we got was like an $80,000 repaint for a property manager. I wasn't expecting to get 50% up front. I thought there was going to be some pushback. And the next email I got was check's ready, come pick it up. Just 40 grand, off we go.
Yeah, that's like the adage, like um you don't know unless you ask, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, you won't get the sale unless you ask for it. So send it out to the universe and see if you get 40K back.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like our first big job that we had with the company. And that, I mean, 40K kept us rolling for a while. And then we got paid obviously on the full amount. And
Yeah.
we usually try and aim around like 47, 48% for commercial work. So, like I said, that's most of our cost, the 50%. And then off we go.
Yeah, rest is gross profit.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of in a unique situation because like you're not a painter.
No, you don't
Yeah.
want me painting your house.
So how'd you navigate that early on?
So I did paint, I shouldn't say that. I did paint for 2 months. So I painted for College Pro for 2 months. And then Kyle Remendo was his name. I don't know if you know Kyle.
I do know Kyle.
Yeah. So Kyle kind of took me around, showed me how to estimate, all that stuff. He's like, oh, you should start a franchise. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe. And then the next summer, I just heard about all like the franchise fees and stuff like that. I was like, I could probably do this on my own. And then I just started on my own. So for 3 years, me and a buddy ran it. And then he went and worked for his dad, which was always his plan. And then I got to a point where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do because I couldn't really get into the commercial game. It's all about who you know, not really what you know. So I was bidding all this work and just like couldn't get into the commercial market and commercial game. And then I met my old partner and he just knew everybody. So yeah, that's how we kind of got into that commercial market. And at the point when we had like 10 employees, I was totally off the tools.
Yeah.
So I got 2 months of painting experience.
What was the roadmap of hires that you made last year starting up?
So I had my production manager that I moved over from Bo, my old company, uh, bookkeeper or office manager, which I think is like the most important position. If you don't know your numbers, then it's just a train wreck waiting to happen. And then I had a lot of painters that I brought over from the old company
Hmm.
as well. So the main two hires would be production manager and office manager. It's really easy in painting to have your costs go out of whack, especially because it's so labor focused. So if you don't know where you are like every day in terms of your budget, then it's really easy to lose money. And
Hmm.
if you don't have a good office manager or bookkeeper that keeps track of those costs for you, then how are you supposed to know if you're over budget?
Yeah. So do you job costs? Like how frequently do you job costs, and how often do you look at those numbers?
So we use an app called Clockshark. It's a like exact time. There's a lot of apps out there, and we look at it every single day. So at the end of each day, guys are clocking in, clocking out. So we know each day how many hours they've spent on the job. And with
And
painting,
it'll give
it's
you like cumulative how much you've spent on each project. So it's like with the labor work so far and the paint purchase so far, we're at this percentage.
yeah, exactly. So I'm a big believer in performance pay. Um, I think if you want to build a successful company, you need like A plus players, and those are the guys that are going to want to work harder to get more money. So what we do, and I know there's a lot of painting contractors that do that, is you got a budget, say 120 hours. If the guys finish it in 100 hours, they still get paid that difference of 20 hours. So in Clockshark, the guys see what the budget is for the job, and they know that they're going to get the difference on if they beat the budget.
Yeah.
So it's not only me that's keeping track of the budget, it's our production manager that gets bonused based off the gross profit. It's our senior estimator that gets bonus based off the gross profit. It's our office manager that get bonuses on it. And then also our painter. So everybody's going towards the same goal. Everybody is trying to make as much gross profit as possible, because at the end of the day, that's what business is about, is making profit. If you don't got profit, you don't got a business.
Yeah. Or else you're just charity.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, a lot of people have weird like relationships with profit, right? And money.
Yeah, lots of people don't even like talking about it. It's weird.
But like a business, and I think people from coming from the employee mindset, I think most have this, where like profit is almost like a bad thing. Like if a business is too profitable, but like profit allows you to do cool stuff.
Hmm.
Right? Like we'll talk about like the impact stuff that you're doing in a little bit, but like yeah, profit lets you treat your employees well and do cool stuff.
Yeah,
Give back.
exactly.
So what were some of the challenges that you faced with even with all the stuff that you had set up, like from the previous business and these contracts and the cash flow system that you kind of set up with the 50% down? What are some of the challenges that you faced in that first year?
My answer might be different than most, but it was just gaining the trust back from a lot of contractors from the past company. Because
Hmm.
me and Mike are from a small town or city. There's like 300,000 people. So everybody kind of knows everybody in that industry, in the construction industry. So once that other business had shut down, a lot of people are like, okay, are you going to do the same thing essentially? Like, is this business going to work? So it was just gaining the trust and just slowly but surely just building up those relationships. Like I said, taking people golfing, all that stuff. And then eventually they trust you on a job, a little job, and you knock it out of the park. They'll give you another one. And
Yeah.
yeah, just keep going.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I think gaining the trust of the staff too, like I had a lot of people that came over from Bo. So I mean they went through the same shit I did. Like, yeah, sure, I was like one of the owners, but they went through it too. So I had to gain back their trust. And that was the same thing, just like making sure I was following up on everything that I was saying and making sure I was staying true to my word, and then eventually you build their trust back too.
Yeah. Makes me want to get into the Bo story a little bit, but let's just keep going on this story right
Yeah,
now and let's
let's
see how
keep
much
going.
time we have today.
Yeah, I think one other thing I can add to that too is like, if you think about it, your employees are literally giving you the keys to their life. Like they are trusting you not only to provide for themselves, but also for their families. Like they are trusting you that you're going to make the business run, you're going to make a profit, and you're going to be able to pay them. So when you think about it, you have a responsibility to make sure that you are making money and you have a strong business, not only for your employees, but for their families too. And I
Mhm.
went through that firsthand of not being able to pay employees. And it was just like, oh my God, that was one of the toughest days of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's your responsibility at the end. There's a lot
Yeah.
of pros, there's a lot of cons to owning a business.
Yeah. I'm here like when some people say that they can't find, trustworthy people or their team is like not showing up. I think that's typically, not always, but like typically a reflection on the owner, right? The owner not being the person, not being the leader, not conveying the level of trust that employee needs to feel secure.
Yeah, 100%.
Now let's look at, so May 2022 you started this company. So now we're
Yep.
in May 2024 and you're trending like 3 million plus this year as like your
Yep.
second kind of full year in business.
Yep.
What's the org chart look like now? How are jobs coming in? Like what's just kind of give me the lay of the land.
Okay, first thing I'll say is revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. So doesn't matter that I'm doing 3 mil. The biggest thing I'm proud of is it's like 20% net. That is like our bottom line. We'll always hit that. Before we did 15 mil, we lost money. So revenue does not matter. And then,
Good
so
caveat.
what was your other question?
Just like lay of the land.
The org
What does
chart?
the org chart look like? What's your day to day? Kind of what's the path look like this year?
Yeah, so I have myself. I don't actually work too much. Mike knows I travel quite a bit. I probably work like maybe 20 hours a week, I would say. I have a senior estimator who's got a junior estimator underneath him. And then we have our office manager who has a accounting assistant underneath her. And then we got our production manager. So I have 3 direct reports. I have the production manager, senior estimator, and then our controller. And then I kind of talk to our office manager quite a bit too. So 3 direct reports.
How many painters?
We have 12 painters on staff, and then we deal with some subcontractors as well.
Okay.
So we have about 4 subcontracting crews. So we do a little bit of a hybrid model. I found that that's the best way to do it. We make, I'd say probably like 5% more on gross profit with our own guys, but we found it very hard to hire our own guys, especially in the summer when times are ramping up so much. So we hire subcontracting crews to supplement our hourly guys.
Yeah. Cool.
And I find that's like, you're going to have subs that mess up. You're going to have subs that don't show up. You're going to have subs that finish half the job and then walk. So you need those in-house guys to go in and make sure the reputation stays strong for your company. They go in and fix the subs work.
Mm-hmm. And where are most of your jobs coming from right now?
We do a lot on SEO, a lot on Google ads. We just joined Painter Growth and we've been doing some Facebook ads, which have been finally working, which is awesome. I think we got like 3 or 4 in this past week, which is great. A lot of just like business development, if I'm being honest. It's just like a lot of knocking on doors. For commercial, it's a lot easier. You just get bid invites. So it's essentially free for the general contractor to get another price for painting. So 9 times out of 10, if you go and knock on a GC's door, they'll be like, oh yeah, you can send us a price. And then you got to build that relationship and then actually go and close the job. So yeah, there's like, I don't know how many bid invites we get a month, but probably close to like 80 to 100 bid invites.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of leads and a lot of work for us to price.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people who are trying to get in a commercial make the mistake of trying to do their takeoffs themselves.
Mm-hmm.
like a takeoff, just if you don't know, is for other people listening, is like getting a price from a set of blueprints, like looking at blueprints and figuring out how much you got to paint and putting together a proposal for that. And a lot of people get a set of blueprints and they spend like 4 hours trying to figure out how much painting there is to do. And it's like, so, and then you don't get the job. So it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So what's your process right now? Who are your estimators? How do you find them? How do you train them? It's like, and yeah, what's that kind of look like?
So we actually have a junior estimator that works out of the Philippines, and he does all of our takeoffs for us. So he scales all the drawings, everything like that. So we'll get a bid invite in that we think is a good opportunity. Well, we'll start pricing it. Carlos is his name. He'll do the takeoff. So he'll say it's 10,000 square feet of walls. There's 2,000 square feet of ceilings and 20 doors. And then Michael, who's our senior estimator, will review the takeoff with Carlos, make sure that everything is good. He'll put in the pricing, so he'll know the customer, he'll know how competitive he's got to get the job, and then he'll put the bid together, send it off, and then follow up with the GC to try and book the job. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty tough, like Mike was saying, like it gets expensive, especially when you have somebody in Canada, in the US, like you're paying probably $70,000 for a full-time estimator, if not more. So if you can get somebody that's in the Philippines, in India, in South America, and you can pay a lot less by our standards, but by their standards, they're still getting paid very, very well. It's a win-win.
Yeah. So where are your estimators based out of?
So we have the one in the Philippines, and then we actually deal with another engineering firm in Africa, in Nairobi.
Okay, yeah. Cool. And so you hire people from the Philippines, or your estimators. What type of education do they have to have, or what kind of experience would make you like, is that skill set?
They're engineers.
They're engineers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Cool.
It's crazy.
And I've seen, like, if someone wants to try it, you can find, like, use upwork.com and like just search, painting takeoff, and you can find some engineers there for, pretty affordable.
Yeah, I'll caveat it a little bit too. Like, you have to know about commercial to get into it. Like, don't take this advice and just like say, okay, I'm gonna go hire somebody from the Philippines. I'll get them to do my takeoff, and then I'll price the job. Because if you mess up on a commercial bid, there is no forgiveness. Like, you got to finish the job, or else they will come after you for legal action. Like, it's a lot more serious of a game than residential. Like, you're not talking like a $2,000 to $10,000 repaint. Some of these commercial jobs are like 50 to 100K, and you're not getting paid for 30 to 60 days. So if you mess up on the bid, it can get pretty costly and end the company pretty quick.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies have gone under, taking on contracts that are too big for them.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, I would say, like, if you're considering getting into commercial for the first time, like, you could do some bids. Maybe I would actually probably start the way that you started, is with property managers and getting repaints, and working your way up. Yeah. But if you have an established business and you're already doing like 50K a month and you want to get into some smaller commercial stuff, then where could someone start in terms of looking for some bids? Like, if they've never done commercial bids, but they feel ready to get into some like smaller commercial new builds, where should they start looking?
You could just honestly Google general contractors, like say you're in Vancouver, general contractors, Vancouver, and just pick up the phone and start calling, and then just try and get a hold of the estimator and ask to be on their bid list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want me to go into the company? Like my other company? About starting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do the idea.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Mike and I are thinking about this idea. So I've got quite a few estimators, like I mentioned. I work with a firm out in Africa, and I got some people in the Philippines too. So we're actually thinking about opening up we're not sure on the name yet, but we'd go out, we'd do the takeoffs, so like scaling the drawings, you get a set of blueprints. We'll tell you how many square feet of walls, ceilings, doors. We'll actually go out, and we have some guys that do business development for us, like our senior estimator. And then we have a couple other people too that would go and reach out to general contractors in your area. And we would bring you guys the opportunities. We would bring the contractors the actual takeoff, so you know how many square feet there are. And then all you would have to do would be put in the pricing for the jobs. Because, I mean, I don't really know what the market is in, say, San Francisco or Vancouver. And then you would go out and sell the project.
So, just to clarify that, it's number one, finding the commercial leads for you, done for you, finding commercial estimates and bids. Number two, doing the takeoffs and giving you everything to finish it, and then all you have to do is go close it.
Yeah.
So, if you're interested, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, there's a Q&A section in the podcast. We'll add it to that. This is like super early, and I just
Super
like
early.
literally an idea. But if someone would like that done for you, commercial lead gen, just say it in the Spotify Q&A.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah.
It's
I
very
mean, I
early.
think there's tons of opportunity there. Like, even for a bigger business who is set up to do commercial and already does a lot of commercial, to have someone else helping you do business development, it's great. That'll be so helpful.
Yeah, and I think it'd be very different too than, like I said, just hiring somebody on Upwork or wherever that doesn't really understand a paint takeoff. Like they don't know what to look for. And another thing that we could easily do is tell you how many days we think it should take. Like I know how our production rates are. I mean, I don't know how quick your guys would be able to do the job, but usually it's pretty similar.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of legs to that. So
Yeah,
now
we'll see.
going back to Revive. So you're what is the what's like the workflow right now from like booking a job? Like how do you go from like booking a job to communicating with your PM to back to the painters to the contractor? Like what does that kind of like workflow look like for you guys?
So we're actually working on like an SOP workflow right now. So we had a ton of SOPs dialed in for our past company, and I think standard operating procedures are like should be forefront of what you guys do in building out a company, especially for painting contractors where the average job size is a little lower. It's important that you have a process for everything. So right now we get a lead in. Our admin will answer the phone, try and get as much information as possible. Then our senior estimator will go out, do the quote. We'll send over the estimate. There's a process, like a sales process. And then from there, we'll do a production handover, which I think is super important. That's probably one of the most important steps of just transferring it from the estimator to our production manager. Then our production manager will take it from there. He'll meet with the guys on site, go over the budget. Like I said, super important. And then one thing we implemented is a walkthrough at the end of the job. Make sure the customer's all happy, get the sign off. So our production manager will do that. Once we get that form signed off, production manager sends that over to the office manager, and then the office manager will bill the client,
Yeah.
ask for a review, all that fun stuff. So it's not as dialed in as I would like it to be. We're working on our SOPs and making sure that it's all standardized, but
Mhm.
it's really important, the standard operating procedures.
So what's the goal now for Revive? So you'll do maybe 3 million with like 600 net this year.
Yeah.
What's like your 3-year goal with Revive?
3-year goal, like 5-year goal is 5 mil at the
Okay.
same net profit, so 20% net. I
Just
would
a lot
like,
slower growth than.
yeah, a lot slower. I've been through the fast growth. It's not it's all it's hyped up to be.
Yep.
So I like my lifestyle. I'm getting married this year. There's a lot of other cool stuff that I do, and I don't want to sacrifice that for growing super quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
making a lot of money is fun, but honestly, there's not much difference. I think I would change in my lifestyle from like making 600K to 2 million,
Yeah.
maybe a
So
little
let's
mix
talk
of
about
both.
why profit's good. What are tell us about some of the charitable initiatives that you're taking on and have been taking on.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I think I'm most proud of is we go down every year to Mexico, Ensenada, Mexico, and we build a house for a family that's less fortunate. So, like I said from the start, it's really important that your company has goals that you guys are working on together. So for us, we track three things throughout the year. So it's sales metrics, gross profit, and then gross revenue. So if the guys, every quarter, we have goals. If the guys hit it for one quarter, it's okay, we're going down to Mexico. I'm paying for the house build, or Revive's paying for the house build. If they hit two of the three quarterly goals, I'll pay for your flights. And then three of the quarterly goals, that's we'll stay in San Diego for an extra 2 nights, pay for your flights, pay for the trip. So they're incentivized every single quarter. And we track that in our weekly meetings too to see how we're doing based off that. And everybody's working towards the common goal, and they love to go out there. So we did this for the first time last year. I think I've done like 8 house builds, but this is the first time I brought our team there, and it was amazing. So we fly into San Diego, we drive
San Diego, Mexico.
no
Or
San Diego, like US.
Okay,
Yeah,
California.
California. And then we drive down 3 hours through Tijuana along the coast to a spot called Ensenada. And there's a company called Baja Bound that works down there that is the organization that builds the houses. So they go through a whole selection process. They find a family that's less fortunate, but has bought the land. And once they buy that land, they apply for the house. We go down there, build this house for the family, and go to a bunch of different like programs around there. So there's like orphanages that we go visit. There's migrant camps, and these migrant camps are wild. These people get paid, I think it's like $2 an hour US, and they stay in these horse stables and they cram in as many people as possible because I think they pay $50 per month for these places. So they just cram in as many people as possible, try and get enough money to send one person to school to hopefully be able to like get them out of their living situation. So it's a tough cycle that they're in, but it's just opening up our team's eyes. Like I said, the profit is one thing, but it's just like what you do to make an impact is what I think business is all about. So when our team sees like, oh, it's not just about making 48% gross profit and $3 million in revenue. It's like we're taking that and we're changing not only like a family's lives, but there's usually like families within that family that just like are really impacted by it. So it's really cool. And then they come back to Canada and their whole perspective has changed on life.
How'd you get started doing that?
Through an organization called Breakthrough Academy, and they took us down there. And then this other guy, Mike Sherbakoff. So he's a really cool dude. He's out in San Diego, and he took us down there and just like showed us what Mexico was like. And his KPI in life was just to get other people to bring down groups to Mexico. And I remember telling him, I was like, Mike, I'm going to be one of your KPIs. I'm going to bring down a group. And I had that company with Bo, and our values weren't there. It wouldn't have been the same to bring that team down there. So once I brought down Revive, it was a big like goal accomplished. And I texted Mike. I was like, yeah, I'm one of your KPIs. I brought down a group.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was like 3 years in the making.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that you could do as a charitable initiative. Why did you pick building a house, and why Mexico? Is it just because that's kind of what BTA had like introduced to you and it made sense?
Yeah. To be honest, that was like the first like eye-opening experience where I got to like see a culture and like that amount of poverty. Like obviously I'd traveled a lot of places in the world. Like I was down in Bolivia and Peru, and like I saw what poverty was like, but and of course there's poverty where we live too, like a lot of homeless and whatnot, but going down there and just seeing it firsthand and like being with the families and like getting to interact with them, you realize like how helpless they actually are. Like the cycle is just so bad. There's just no way of getting out for them. So they need external help. And there's like a whole thing to giving. Like I'm reading this book right now. It's called When Helping Hurts. And it's just like, there's a really interesting way of actually helping people in those situations. Because a lot of the times it's not money that they need to get out of it. It's like a mental shift. So when you go down there, spend time with them and like actually get to know how they live, it's really impactful. So long answer short, it was the first thing that we did
Yeah.
going to Mexico.
And what do you do in Africa?
Oh yeah. So me and my fiance went down to Africa in February, and that was pretty life changing. So my one production manager that I mentioned, he's originally from Mauritius. Great guy. He's been with me for 7 years, salt of the earth. And it was his first time going back in 7 years. We paid for his flights. We hit some goals, paid for his flights, went down there. We visited him for, I think we were there for 2.5 weeks in Mauritius. And we did some recruiting to bring over some people from on an LMIA program. There's a big labor shortage in Canada right now.
What is LMIA?
I actually don't know what it stands for, if I'm being honest, but it's essentially bringing down foreign workers. Yeah, Google it and see if you can.
Labor market temporary foreign worker program.
Yeah, so they come down for 2 years.
Impact
Work.
assessment. Labor market impact assessment. Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Hiring foreign workers for temporary work.
yeah, so they come down for 2 years. Really good guys too. So Faisal got us on a radio, which is really cool. Got us in the newspaper, and we had like honestly thousands of people reaching out to us, just being like, "Hey, can we come? Can we come?" So we hired 2 guys, and we're in the process of bringing them over. And these guys are like extremely qualified and just like very, very dedicated individuals. So yeah, they'll be coming over in a couple weeks, which will be really exciting. And then we went down to Nairobi in Kenya. And similar to Mexico, we knew one of our friends. Her name's Megan. She does a lot of Rotary work down there, and she introduced us to like a ton of people that are doing some really cool things. Like we visited the school that this guy was building. Went to some orphanages. Went to similar to Mexico, but this is like Africa is probably 2 to 3 times as bad as what Mexico was. Like I'll never forget. There was this time we were in this little town. There's like 1 million people. It's called Nakuru, and we were driving to the school, and there was this guy that was crawling on the street. He had knee pads on, and he had shoes on his hands, and he was just like crawling, and he had like a bin of candy that he was holding with his teeth, and he was like murmuring to like try and sell this candy. And we just like drove right by, and I was like, oh my God, like, are we going to stop? Are we going to help that guy? And then the guy we were with, he's like, oh no, this is Kenya. That's everywhere. I was like, what? No, that is not real life. Like that is insane. And it's just crazy how their environment, how they think these things are normal. Well, they are normal for them, but like for us, you go down there, it's just like, it's mind blowing. So we've been trying to figure out ways to help. And a lot of the times it's not just send money down there. It's like a social program that you got to do. So we've been working with this one company. It's like a teen outreach program. And a lot of these girls unfortunately go into prostitution to pay for pads because they can't afford them, and they miss school. And obviously there's really no like protection for sex and all that stuff. So they end up getting pregnant, and it's just a really bad cycle. So me and my fiance have been working with them to try and help them build a program where it's these girls learn some skills, where it's like photography or nails and hair, where they can actually like get more confidence in themselves, start earning an income by themselves, and get out of this cycle that they're in. So it's really fascinating on like how to help these people, because it's not as easy as just like giving them money. Sometimes it's more harm than good when you just put money into their community.
Mm-hmm. How did you get involved with those programs in Africa? Like if someone's interested in that and wants to help, how, like what type of organization should they reach out to?
To be honest, like these are like really small organizations. Like the one for the school is called SOAR Kenya. That would be like the most established one. The others are just like a person we met down there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So I'm sure you'll probably drop my info in here. If you guys are interested, you could just reach out to me and I can put you in touch with somebody. But Yeah, it's pretty like under the radar stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome,
I
man.
I think that's one of the things too. If you invest, if you donate to somewhere like Africa, you're not sure where your money is going. Like they actually talked about how you can adopt people outside of Kenya because there was a lot of I don't know if you call them companies, but just like programs where they take kids from families and they promise that they're going to go to Canada or the States or wherever it may be. And they link up with a family down in the States in Canada or Europe, take their money, and then the kids don't end up going there. So it's like they promise the world and don't deliver. So they actually stopped adoption outside of Kenya. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So um, I mean, these guys, they sound really trustworthy, and I talk to them pretty regularly. But I think that's the thing. I'm going to try and go back every 3 years to make sure that where we're putting money is actually going to the projects that they say they're going to, and we can actually see the difference that it's making. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like when you're doing something like building a house in Mexico, like you can see there is now a house.
Yeah, 100%. You're there for 3 days, you build the house, boom, it's done.
Yeah.
So,
Just build a house in 3 days.
3 days, 2 days actually. Yeah. It's not like a house you'd expect, but it's got like insulation, it's got electrical. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
efficient. Yeah.
You're not doing like level 5 drywall finish.
No, you're taping it though. You're doing level 4.
Okay. Oh, so
Yeah.
it's getting taped and mudded on the inside and
Getting taped and mudded. Yeah. You have to come
well,
down
yeah, I will.
November 7th.
When you were in November?
Yeah. 7th to
No,
10th, we're doing it.
November 7th to 10th.
Oh, you love it.
November. Yeah, that'd be fun. Just a long weekend. Long weekend, build a house in Mexico.
That's a good way to spend a long weekend. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's me.
absolutely. Um, cool, man. I've kind of covered a lot of stuff today. There's not quite enough time to get into the bow story, so let's reserve that for another time because I want to give that its due diligence. But yeah, we covered, getting into commercial work, kind of you starting 0 to 1 million, 1 million to 3 million, the slow growth from there. Um, we talked about the
Yeah, you don't like the name, hey?
I don't like the name, but the commercial estimating program,
Yeah.
business development for commercial jobs. So if anyone's interested in that, throw a, say me in the Q&A. That'd be awesome. But yeah, dude, any last words, I guess, just to circle back to the main thing of like helping contractors, people want to get, into more commercial work. Any like last words for people who like do want to get into commercial work? Any pieces of advice?
For commercial work specifically, I would say, like Mike says, like start small. Um, Start with the property managers, start working directly for owners so you can take a deposit because it takes a while to get paid for commercial work on GCs. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I'm an I'm an example of someone that did that, and it did not end up well. There's a lot of lessons that I learned from it, very expensive lessons, but don't repeat the same mistakes I did.
And we will go into those mistakes in a subsequent
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. So that would be the big thing is just like make sure that you bite off what you can chew and really, really track your numbers. Like join a program like Painter Growth where they're actually holding you accountable to the numbers and you have systems in place. Because if you don't have something like that, it's really easy to go off the rails. It's really easy to not know your numbers, think you're making money, and then at the end of the year, you go to your accountant and he's like, "Oh, you actually lost $10,000 for the year." And it's like, "Fuck, why didn't I
Yeah,
just
we've
keep
had some
going?"
guys come in the program and like we help them get a bookkeeper and they're like, "Yeah, we lost money last year. Just found that out."
Yeah, it's crazy. There's so many businesses like that. Like it's insane. I
Yeah.
was actually at my accountant's and he said a third of the businesses that come in there, they help them shut down because they realize they're losing money.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, not a good way. That's why you need transparency in your numbers. You need to know what's going on. I like how you're using it every single day, looking at your numbers every single day with Clockshark and do you say use QuickBooks too?
Yeah, we use QuickBooks. So like we didn't really get into that too much, but we got like a financial rhythm. So every day we're looking at the numbers. It's not just me. It's like our production manager and estimator, bookkeeper.
Hmm.
And then every week we do these meetings called L10s. I would recommend you guys look that up on Google. It's a really good way of holding everybody accountable in the company.
A little bit of traction.
Yeah, a little bit of traction. So it's we just started implementing those about a month and a half ago, and they've been great. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, really good way to keep everybody on the same path.
Yeah. Love it. Well, hey man, thanks for coming on, and stoked to chat next time.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.